If you're nominated to be America's top doctor, shouldn't you be able to practice medicine? That's the question Senator Andy Kim pressed during a tense confirmation hearing for President Donald Trump's Surgeon General nominee. Because here's the headline. Her medical license is currently inactive. She says it's voluntary. She says she won't be seeing patients. She says it doesn't matter. But Kim wasn't convinced. If the Surgeon General leads a commission corps where maintaining professional licensure is mandatory, how does an inactive license square with that responsibility? Is this a minor technicality? Or does it raise deeper questions about credibility and standards? Let's break down what happened and why this exchange could shape the confirmation fight.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming out. Congratulations on the new baby. I wanted to just ask you about the role of the Surgeon General, the different aspects of it. So one of it is about issuing public health advisories. Is that correct?
Yes.
I want to just ask, are you currently able to write prescriptions for patients?
I have not been seeing patients over the last several years, and so I currently, with the status of my license that I voluntarily put on an active status, which I'm sure what you're getting at, cannot prescribe a prescription right now. However, if I were to work with the Oregon Medical Board to reinstate that, it's very possible to do. And
is that something you're planning to do?
I'm not planning on prescribing prescriptions to Americans.
But are you planning to reactivate your license?
My path in medicine, I spent 4 years doing surgeries and seeing patients in clinics, and that one-to-one medicine, it's valuable, but my path took me down a different road to have a one-to-many approach to affect the root cause of why we're sick in America. And I've had a very successful.
So you're saying you're not going to pursue reactivating your medical license in taking this job? Is that correct?
I do not plan to reactivate because I'm not going to be seeing patients in this role.
So
it would not make sense to do that. In fact, for physicians, if I could just clarify, because this has been a point of severe misinformation from the media, for any doctor in a state where you are required to put your license on inactives if you're not seeing patients, I would imagine that many physicians in public health service who aren't seeing patients would have to put their license on inactive status because they are not seeing patients unless they choose to continue to do so while in office.
So another important role here, I just want to kind of clarify, because you're saying, you're not currently able to practice medicine. You're not currently able to write prescriptions because you're saying you're not going to be seeing patients in this job.
And I do have
another big role. Another big role of the work that you're doing is to be a leader of the commission corps.
Yes.
Is that correct? So I guess I wanted to just dive into this because, with the commission corps, it's saying as a commission corps officer of the U.S. Public Health Services, keeping professional licensure and certification up to date is mandatory. So I guess I just wanted to get a sense of how you're squaring this here.
Well, I do have a medical license right now. It is voluntarily placed on inactive status because I'm not actively seeing patients at this time. The HHS and Admiral Brian Christine have testified in front of this committee that I am eligible to serve as the medical director of the HHS.
But how does that square with saying here it says keeping a professional licensure and certification up to date is mandatory? Is yours up to date?
I have I have a medical license that is unexpired right now. Admiral Christine has testified that I'm eligible to serve in this role. I'm the president's nominee for Surgeon General, and further questions about that will have to go to
So if you were to expand that, would you say that, like with the others in the commission corps, do you think we should remove the mandatory licensure for them to be able to participate in the corps?
That's not a question that I've considered. I don't think it's actually relevant to this particular hearing.
Well, it's relevant insofar as I'm just trying to think through, if you're in this job, how are you going to be proceeding, and what kind of advice you're going to be able to give to the American people and the credibility that they will have in understanding what your advice is. Also, in terms of, if you are a leader of the commission corps, I'm trying to get a sense, are you going to deprioritize having an active license in the same way that, you believe that you can do the job of a Surgeon General without having an active license? Do you believe that that is the case for others in the commission corps, that they can do their job without having an active license?
Senator Kim, I'm a medical doctor. I graduated from Stanford University School of Medicine. I have a medical license. My professional history is a feature. It's not a bug. I have had a unique history that has merged entrepreneurship, public health advocacy, faculty, course direction at Stanford University, as well as being an editor of a medical journal and a biomedical researcher. And in these complex times for American healthcare, that type of multidisciplinary history is going to be extremely valuable for the American people.
I don't discount your accomplishments and your education. But what I'm trying to get a sense of here is your ability to be able to engage with our current medical professionals, to show respect to...
I practiced medicine. I owned my own medical practice, and I've seen thousands of patients, and I did over 4 years of surgical training, which is more than many of our past Surgeon Generals completed who did medical specialties. I have completed extremely thorough medical training, and I have the ability through these experiences to communicate excellent public health information. And I really look forward to working with the Commission Corps. This is an incredible group of people, 5,000 uniformed officers who are committing their lives to helping the American people. And personally, just to share a little bit of a
I agree with that.
vision for that.
The signal that is being sent is one that I think we have to look at. And with that, I'll yield back.
Could I?
Yes, ma'am.
This incredible group of officers has traditionally been deployed for public health emergencies like natural disasters and infectious disease. And I think there's a huge opportunity to actually work with these members who are interested in approaching the chronic disease epidemic, which has not traditionally been part of their role. And I think that bringing that perspective and the demonstrated history of work in this area is actually going to be a really positive development for the Commission Corps. And I thank you for your questions.
The nominee confirmed that her license is currently on inactive status. That means she cannot prescribe medication. She cannot actively practice medicine. She voluntarily placed it inactive because she hasn't been seeing patients for several years. Her defense was straightforward. The Surgeon General doesn't treat patients. This is a one-to-many public health leadership role. Reactivating her license would not make sense. On the surface, that argument has logic. The Surgeon General is not a practicing air doctor. The job is about issuing advisories, guiding public health messaging, and leading the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps, roughly 5,000 uniformed officers deployed in crises from natural disasters to infectious disease outbreaks. But here's where the tension begins. Kim pointed out that maintaining professional licensure is mandatory for members of that Commission Corps. So if the officers under your command must keep their licenses active, should the leader meet that same standard? That's not just procedural. That's symbolic. Because credibility in public health isn't only about credentials earned years ago. It's about current standamana dini. Bepro's her leading. The noti pushback hard. Oshadav resides her strength. Yipurta reservee. She framed her career path as a feature, not a bug. A shift from one-to-one medicine to systemic change, and to be clear, many past surgeon generals have not actively practiced medicine while serving. This is not unprecedented, but the broader issue here isn't about legality. It's about perception and trust. We live in a time when public health institutions face skepticism. When vaccine debates, pandemic responses, and chronic disease policy are politically charged. When Americans question expertise itself. In that environment, details matter. An inactive license might be administratively defensible, but politically, it opens a vulnerability. It allows critics to ask if you're advising the nation's doctors, if you're issuing guidance that affections URL standards. A call domainen the same other standing as those you oversee. The Verdi scree, Sapple, this administration has consistently prioritized an ideological alignment in nominations. For ticks, Wittisraffer, that professional norms sometimes become. Supporters argue that bureaucratic gatekeeping has been too rigid and that innovation requires unconventional resumes. So this exchange becomes part of a larger debate. Are traditional credential markers essential for credibility? Or are they symbolic barriers that don't necessarily reflect leadership ability? Kim's line of questioning wasn't about humiliating the nominee. It was about standards matter most in moments of crisis. When the next pandemic ends. Was that a trust in dot opelta kota dijane, warden savidranful? Olthestrin chiver dramatic. It's earned, and sometimes it's respy small signals that show alignment with professional expectations. At the end of her qualifications, the town and deadline isn't about shenexeds, predominantly vouchers upon profession. An inactive license may be a technical detail, but in politics, become defend. The confirmation process will ultimately decide whether this is a footnote, and I'll keep breaking it down. Stay in for nauta. Stay in for. Stay engaged. And I'll see you in the next one.